Thank you for having me, and it's especially appropriate that this speaking event is a learning ground for people that want to become speakers, because that's how I became a speaker through things like Barcamp. I went to a technical conference, and I was just in love, and I said to someone, "This is so magical, everyone here is so creative, and I wish this could happen all the time." And they said, "If you like this, you'll love Barcamp." And the next thing I knew, I was going to every conference I could get my hands on, because this was the most committed and passionate group of people that I'd ever met, over and over and over again, all over the world. And I'm going to show you something today that has literally, I was debugging on the plane on the way out here. I've been working for the last few days to get this ready. And this is the first audience that will ever see this. Normally, I give talks where I have all my slides, and it's all pictures, and it's not a thing that is rehearsed, because every talk is different, but I'm used to doing that. Today, I'm going to alpha test something, so bear with me, it will explode. There will be a point at which it doesn't work anymore, and we'll just switch over. But I'm going to show you a kind of game that you could learn to make during this workshop if you want. I'll give you the source code. That is a game about talks. And it's a game about changing the world, and it's a template for why games are so powerful. So without further ado, I'm just going to show you the very rough but very real prototype. So here we are. And if anyone's ever been backstage at a big conference like Bill or Ted, you might recognize this is the on-ramp. And we're next. My whole life has been pointing to this moment, to this stage, to this countdown, 1500. I'm giving a talk at Bill, the most prestigious conference in the world. I've been working for years on a project that has changed the world. And I'm speaking about how I went from seeing something about the world that needed changing to making it my mission to do it. I'm telling the story of how I faced my fears and overcame all obstacles to become the change I wish to see. I'm standing backstage, about to go on in front of bright lights, 1,000 faces, millions of viewers watching online. I repeat my empowering mantra to myself: don't screw up, don't screw up. Uh-oh. It's time. The last speaker just finished. The crowd's applause means they didn't screw up. My turn. The MC is introducing me and my notable accomplishments. All I have to do now is tell the story and begin at the beginning. Oh God, they didn't tell me it'd be so bright. How do I begin? Audience, what do we say? Code is the new literacy, or my name is Alex Peake?
My name is
Code is the new literacy. Literacy means mastery of the language of the land, and we live most of our lives in an online world where code speaks louder than words. Code shapes our every internet action, in every language and every land, and it is increasingly connecting all the places where English is not. Mark Andreessen said code is eating the world because it is becoming an essential part of every scientific entrepreneurial endeavor for economic and social progress. Literacy is supposed to get close to 100%, but if less than 50 million human beings out of 7 billion can code, well, humanity is illiterate. And if 98% of young people play games before the age they can read, a game about coding might just have the reach to change that. When I was a child, I played Dungeons and Dragons, and my curiosity to find out how role-playing games worked, it made learning programming irresistible to me. So I read Learn C on the Mac, and I attempted to make my first game. C was slow going for a kid hungry to make a game that was actually fun. So I switched to rapid dev tools like HyperCard and Prograph, and I made my first nearly commercially successful online game at 13. It had customers signed up to pay before my source code, hard disk, and the BBS that hosted it crashed near simultaneously. I believed, though, that school could be more fun as a game, and games would be more interesting as a school. And my dream was to make a game with the imaginative creativity of D&D by teaching you how to program it and augment to create a school like Hogwarts for hackers. It was many years before I found the Unity engine that I needed to create my ultimate learning game. And I launched the Code Hero project to make a game that teaches people how to make games. Code Hero began with a simple idea: to teach people programming with a code ray that shoots JavaScript instead of bullets. This was so crazy that no one had thought of it before, and it had code puzzles like Portal and world building like Minecraft. We showed it to kids, oh God, how am I doing for time? 11:31, oh God. We showed it to kids secretly at Maker Faire, and we won an Editor's Choice Award. So with our cover balloon, we demoed the first levels at Minecraft, and people literally said, shut up and take my money. So we started to sell the prototype. We built that prototype and taught players enough code to beat FizzBoss. We built a Kickstarter campaign that raised $170,000 with huge press coverage, and we built a team that built a first alpha that got players to build and ship games in 15 minutes in the real artist shipyard. So now we had a much anticipated game with enthusiastic backers, press supporters, eagerly awaiting the next alpha release. They wanted to start their learning, and they wanted to see the progress we'd made. Code Heroes Alpha had an epic new world and world-building tools, but it was incomplete, and we needed it to reach 3 key metrics of success. Players needed to master JavaScript and Unity 101, which were still incomplete levels. They needed to be able to create levels of their own with enough creative pride to ship and share. And we needed to provide pure fun gameplay for players who aren't initially motivated by learning or creating. To do this, we needed funding, but I had a difficult choice to make. We only wanted investors with a philanthropic mindset to back our vision. How should we raise funds for Code Hero? We had a choice: bootstrap and try to reach the 3 metrics ourselves solo, or do we need a war chest and to raise the money as we can get it from VCs? Or do we meet with just select angels, maybe education VCs and philanthropists to try to raise a small round? What do we do? Say it out loud like you mean it. What do we do? The third one? We met with select angels, education VCs, and philanthropists to raise a small round. So we were very choosy about who we talked to. We got some educational or philanthropic foundations to fund us with grants. We picked up a short list of angels and VCs to participate in a first round once we needed it. And the grants got us to launch, and the first round added to our alpha announcement traction with a war chest, which we were able to use to hire a dream team. Now we had hundreds of thousands of players, more than half creating levels they liked enough to ship. We'd proven all gamers could be game developers, and we'd upended the idea that only the elite 2% will ever make stuff. The next ultimate challenge was to make Code Hero fit for Steam and the mass gamer audience it would bring. Steam gamers had high standards set by AAA blockbuster games. So that's as far as the script is implemented right there. Do you guys want me to continue with this experience and read from here, or do you want me to explain what this really is? Okay, this is a flow that anyone can use to make a game inside of Code Hero and by learning programming yourself that is about how you're going to change the world. So only the first half of that is true. We haven't raised the hundreds of thousands of dollars. We don't have angels or philanthropists, for example. We're not on Steam yet. We're going to be soon. So what this is it's a choose your own adventure. How many people have read choose your own adventure books or played games like that? It's the best way to start making games because it's the purest thing there is. It's a story. It's choices. It's the things a player has. It's not, things blowing up or exploding, but it's how I would start making games if I were new to it. And so what we're attempting to do with Code Hero is to give people the power to make their own games, but not just any games, which we can show them, but to make games that could change the world, to make games about something they're passionate about, because they're probably not going to be a full-time game developer. How many people here want to be a game developer as their primary activity? Okay, so this is not a room full of game developers. But how many people here think there might be something useful about game development that they could put to work in what they do? So it's a medium. That's exactly what I was expecting, but also still a little tingle in the back of my neck to hear the confirmation of that. Because I think that game development is to coding and creating what reading and writing was to a previous generation. I think that to express ourselves now means to have the ability to take people through an experience and to let them experience what you're trying to convey and actually be mobilized by that. So I'm going to show you Code Hero proper now. And the essence of that exercise we just went through is that's a template that someone in 15 minutes could write a script like that and then have a game like that, where they reused our content, they reused the applause animation, all that was like a template. But you write in, what is your passionate project to change the world? What is the TED Talk that you want to be giving years from now, or Bill Talk that you want to be giving years from now? But it doesn't start on stage getting an ovation for some famous thing you did. It starts being a noob. And when you're a noob, you show up sort of like on the doorstep of Tyler Durden's house, and you wait until they take you in. But it's not like the old days. There's actually a place you can go that will take you.
Welcome to Cambridge University. Come and find me up ahead.
And it's called Cambridge University. And it's quite literally Hogwarts for hackers. And there's a warning label, mind you. It is known by the state of California to cause productivity, entrepreneurship, and startups. So you've been warned. It also has plaques on the front pillars that give recognition. This city was built by Kickstarter. I mean, we did the work every day, but these people did a lot of work to raise the money that they contributed to make it happen too. And there's a lot of these plaques and a lot of these names. And it's a sign of the times that you can get people to back your vision as a nobody who no one's ever heard of before, with no industry connections or anything like that, just because the idea. Now, who here has some idea of who this teacher might be?
Hello, my name is Ada Lovelace. I was the first programmer of the first computer, and I will teach you your first coding. Would you like a tour of Cambridge? Follow me. We'll start by playing games. In the arcade you can play games created by code heroes like yourself. What brought you here? Love of games or code, or both? Learning to make games is an exciting way to learn programming. Code gives you the power to make computers do anything you can imagine. In games, everything you see and do is caused by code. Master it and you'll soon be creating games of your own. It all starts in the labyrinth. Enter if you dare. Hack your way out if you can. If you can hack your way through and make it out alive, you might have what it takes to enroll here. Meet me here on the other side and you'll be ready to learn the secrets of code and the librarian. Good luck.
So in we go. And the player at this point has no idea what they're getting themselves into. And this sounds sort of oddly sinister, but they're motivated, right? They want to get in. So in we go.
Welcome to the labyrinth level 0. Find the key to open the door.
Programmers start at 0. It's a very important step in every programmer's development. So we got to find a key.
Key fired. The key contains code.
We got the key,
unlock the door to the next
right?
level.
That was easy. And we open the door. So far, this looks like every other video game, right?
This level is infested with pinata dragons. Pinata dragons love to live adventurous loot, but they are required by design in order to make you turn it first by hitting them sufficiently with spores. Secret is dangerous to go alone. Take risk.
All right, now we're talking. So let's make these pinata dragons pay up.
The sword code will subtract 5 damage from the dragon's hit points, but the Dragon King has thousands of hit points.
So first of all, what is code, right? We haven't really dealt with code before. We understand we're here to learn it, but we hit the dragon and it says you did 5 damage. Enemy safety. We don't use the word killed. There's little children playing this game, right? But
The dragon, press the Q key.
this is the Dragon King. He has 1,000 hit points. He's not impressed by our sword. He just kind of laughs at us, right? But we hit Q.
Click on the Dragon King to select it.
And if you look at these buttons, they look suspiciously like the ones at the top in the Unity 3D programming environment, because it is Unity inside of Unity. So we click on the dragon.
Click the Inspector button. Click the hit points variable to edit it.
Ah, now we're editing the dragon's hit points to beat him.
Type the number 5 key to reduce the dragon's hit points. Click Save. Hit Q to close the editor and try slaying the Dragon King now. Dragon hacking time.
Okay, so this is not a game with game balance. This is a game with game imbalance.
Hacking accomplished. Now you're not playing by the rules, you're changing the rules with code.
In essence, Code Hero is a game.
Cambridge University.
Code Hero is a game where you learn how to cheat to win. The original skepticism about whether we could pull this off was like, well, how do you stop people from cheating? And all we could do is laugh, because we're trying to teach people that programming means absolute power. So the next step is we've been exposed to a little bit of the idea of editing code, but what does it really mean?
You managed to hack your way through the first part of the labyrinth by altering objects and code. You're ready to learn how code really works in the librarian. Shall we continue? Follow me. The librarian is a collection of knowledge, but it contains something even more precious than books, experiences. The librarian's courses are more like obstacle courses than classes. Courses are game levels you play that teach you programming and game development skills. The first course you'll play is called Unity 101, which will introduce you to the Unitascript language that governs this world. You'll learn how a number of useful prefab objects work before you get a chance to put them together to make your own levels in a shipyard. Enter the Unitascript cube and good luck.
So that cube contains all the knowledge that would normally be found in Unity in a thing called the script reference. And this is the script reference. Now, if you're a programmer, you might think, oh, this looks really nice and structured and very understandable. But, if you're already a programmer, then, these types of resources make sense. If you're like me and you were a self-taught programmer as a kid, this just looks like a big sign that says, give up, you're not smart enough to do this, wait until you're older or something like that. But what I discovered when I actually tried to use this was that it was intelligible. And so I've tried to teach it to people in the game the same way that I learned it, by just turning these into video game levels, which when I was learning it, I made those levels to teach myself the API. But in this case, you don't have to make them from scratch because we give them to you. So Unity 101 is a survey level. I'm not going to go through the whole level. I'm just going to show you another level instead. So here's game object and all the stuff that you'd have to learn in it to understand it. And there's a level instead. Here's transform position, which is moving objects around. I'm going to show you that one.
You can move an object by changing its transform positions $x, $y and $z coordinate values. Aim here to copy this code and use it to shoot the green bridge ahead to move it down so you can obtain the gold star.
Okay, so it's like Portal basically. Copy the code, shoot it, it moves down. Now I'm going to disable this sword because it's kind of annoying. So I'm just going to edit the sword's code live. This is part of what you can do in this, is you can edit the entire game's code. So when I shoot, the code that executes is position.y minus equals 1 on the hit object, and it's transformed. So that's what it's doing, is it's moving that object down by 1. I could change that code, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So if I move it down a little bit, the next question is, okay, well...
Very good. With a long enough block of code and a place to execute, you can move the world. Reversing minus to plus switches the direction around. Change y minus equals 2 to y plus equals 2 to move the green bridge up instead.
So you can see you go to 10, 11, 12, so on. By the time you get to the top of this level, you know pretty much all that there is to know about moving objects around in 3D space. And you're solving puzzles that are like getting confusing and challenging and really getting you to be self-motivated to solve them. The thing is, that was the original prototype. Like, I made that a year ago. I made that before we did the Kickstarter. That was the original premise, was teach through puzzles. And I was not satisfied with it, not in the least bit. Because what I really wanted to do was to get people to cross a magic threshold that I believe is the real key to becoming a programmer. For me, it was making my first game and showing it to people. And so we don't just teach people to program, we teach people to ship something. And so the next step you go to after Unity 101 is the real artist shipyard. And you come here to build, literally, something that you're going to ship. And so what better metaphor than a shipping container, right? And this is our editor.
To make a world from scratch, you must first embed the universe. Press Q to open the editor. Click the Create button. Click Q. Click on the ground to place the cube.
Oh yeah, we're trying to continue the work that Cosmos began, but updated for the
Click
metaverse.
Labyrinth Dragon. Click on the ground to place the dragon. Click Labyrinth Sword. Click on the ground to place the sword. Click the Levels button to save your level.
So what we're doing now is we basically just made sword in the stone. There's a sword and it's in a cube and there's a dragon. But we're now going to be able to save that.
Your name and click the Save As button to save your level.
So we could call that like sword in rock, totally original title. And
Click
save as.
the editor and play your level. If you die, open the editor and reload it from the Levels menu.
So this level's now saved. Now, I didn't log in at the beginning because I forgot to, but when we're logged in, that would be saved to our account, and we'd be able to see all the thousands of levels other people have made, which we don't have thousands of levels yet, but there will be.
Grab the sword and slay the dragon. Now it is time to ship your level. Press Q to open the editor again.
So that's the level working.
Click the Ship It button.
But the point is not just to make a level and let it sit on your computer or in your account. The point is to have a pirate ship button, because I don't know why computers never had a pirate ship button, but I think it's very important.
Click Confirm Ship It.
A ship in harbor is safe, but that's not why ships are built. So here we are back at the harbor, but
now that you've made a level, it is time to ship it. Hit space to jump and jump on top of the big red button.
Can you see what's about to happen here? Anybody see what's coming?
Congratulations. Your level is being uploaded to the real artist ship. Cross the shipyard bridge and step aboard to launch your first shipping game. Shipping your first game is a milestone. People can play it to reduce suggestions and improve the art as you learn more code. You've earned the right to call yourself a code hero and matriculate on the human theory.
That's our level, and it's on the real artist ship. And once you do that, it gets announced. Those lights in the sky are showing the name of the most recently uploaded level. Everyone in the game sees an announcement and then goes and plays it and tries it. Granted, most people kind of pass on the levels they know someone just made because they just did this demo tutorial because they've seen the sword and the stone and the dragon before. But when you start to make really cool stuff, you start to get recognition for it, and that's really what it's about. So this is the rite of passage that makes you a code hero, is that you shipped a thing. And that's what the Code Hero Hall is. It's the place.
Say the love race to matriculate as a Cambridge University Code Hero.
It's a place where you're building on the pillars of giants. Each coder, each creator, each artist is adding to the expertise of what came before them. And so initially we just have a few of the greatest computer scientists who've ever lived. Eventually all those plaques will be populated, and some of the greatest game developers who've ever lived and still live. And those will be there too. Praise Carmack. And Joachim Anti made this game engine, the Unity game engine that we use when he was 17.
Joachim Anti is the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Unity, the engine that powers the world of Code Hero. Joachim starts welcome, Code Hero. You are here in the human theory not as a visitor but as a peer and fellow programmer. You may be at the beginning of your coding career, but every hero on it here was once young and aspiring too. You have shipped your first game and enrolled to begin your learning. I hereby matriculate you as a full code hero of Cambridge University. I challenge you to keep coding and creating till your games and exploits become an inspiration to future coders.
So basically, she tells you, you're one of us, not a fanboy or a wannabe. And this is your plaque. And that gets replaced with your name and the game that you made. So if you named it something obscene or silly, you immediately are motivated to make a second game to replace it with. And ultimately, this puts you on a trajectory where you are a programmer, you have shipped something, and it's hopefully just the beginning. Now, making these first simple games is not the end point of this, and the trajectory that we're building out as we build more of the curriculum, to use that term very loosely, the obstacle courses that make up the librarian of Cambridge, and all the challenges that await people, is we want to get people to create games that aren't just following our templates. We want to get people to create games that are about their vision, their creativity. The technology we use is called Unity, and it's not free software, but it is free, as in beer, as in, well, not for kids, they can't drink beer. But it's free that you can download it, and you can make anything you want with it. We're going to have a tool to export anything you make inside of Code Hero out to Unity, so you could then put it on the App Store, Android, PlayStation, iOS, Xbox, Nintendo Wii, your toaster oven. Unity is just shameless about porting to everything. The whole idea of getting people to make games is not just for the sake of code literacy. There's actually a bigger motivation to all of this, and that is that code is a gateway science, right? It's the science that is the most fun and most almost irresistible once you understand what is involved in your favorite hobby, which is games if you're a kid. And what people are building up initially is, okay, well, they're going to have their game in the arcade, and people are going to play it, and it's going to be fun, and they're going to be proud of that. And that's really cool, to have your name in lights and have those arcade machines have your game on them. That's how you get started as a programmer. But there comes a point where you actually realize, hold on a second, I can change the world with this. With a game that's about something that really impacts people, or with a more serious career in technology, in the sciences. And so that first tour that we take people on, that trajectory, directly to the arcade, the library, and the shipyard, and to the Humantheon, is to get them ready for the day when they're going to poke their head in this big sort of career fair tent called the Exponentium. And they're going to be there to figure out what their life's really going to be about next. And we have stuff about becoming a game developer and the professional associations and movies and things that will inspire them. We have stuff about getting into like artificial intelligence research or Singularity University, other groups like that challenge people to think big, like Think. And what we are trying to get people to do is to leave this game as a milestone in their career and do something real in the real world that is far beyond what we could ever simulate in a game. How many people here have been to hackerspaces? So, I mean, we're right next to a space that's much like a hackerspace. So we're actually including in the game an element where they have to go on a mission to their local hackerspace. Things like that are the stepping stones for people to actually find real mentors, find a community of other developers that they're going to connect with, and start building actual things in teams together. And in essence, what Cambridge University is designed to provide is a default hackerspace for those who haven't got one yet. Because if you're busy enough at your actual hackerspace, you probably won't have a lot of time to play video games because you're going to be building actual huge things. And that to us is graduation. When you're just too busy changing the world to play, then we win. And there's another theme, which is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is one of the greatest mysteries of code, one of the greatest dangers of it too. Depending on who you ask or how they feel that day, we could either be on the brink of the greatest human discovery that could unlock, immortality or life extension or whatever, or the end of the human species as we know it.
Terminator.
What's that?
Terminator.
Terminator, yeah. Or it could be something as simple as like a stock market that implodes itself, which has actually happened, or an anti-aircraft gun that started just shooting down planes randomly in Africa recently. So there's a final area of the campus which is called the FizzBossery. FizzBoss is a way of taking tests which used to suck, like all these like brain teasers, like do this puzzle, get a job interview at this big company things are super boring. So we took a classic, which is print the numbers from 1 to 100, and if they're divisible by 3, 5, or 15, substitute fizz, buzz, or fizz, buzz. So 1, 2, fizz, 4, buzz, fizz, 7, 8, fizz, buzz, and so on. We turn that into this.
Mission briefing, Operation FizzBuzz. Your mission, defeat 100 FizzBuzz. You are here, in the briefing room. You must reach the Humantheon's code Hero door.
So you're literally there to battle 100 robots by using game knowledge about how to find and destroy objects by name and the algorithm. You're going to do something that just sounds crazy. But
wait to bypass them. The bots will approach your door in a zigzag pattern. Prevent them from reaching your door. If they are allowed to breach containment, you will be ejected. The mission may seem impossible,
but impossible is what coders do.
Study resistance.
Impossible is what coders do. And that's the real lesson of giving people these kind of epic challenges to butt their head against and to fail at over and over again. Because when you're a programmer, you get used to liking challenges that are hard enough that you can't do them right away. Almost every big code project is an incremental sort of battle with impossibility, where you start off trying to do something that you think might not be feasible. In this case, there's a series of hints where you literally game object dot destroy hit object to destroy the glass. And these hints will help you do it. But we kind of discourage, are you sure you can't figure it out for yourself? And that's what it's all about, is we want people to master themselves so that, when they're faced with, the 100 robots, they don't just, go in guns blazing and then be like, oh, this is too hard, I give up. We want them to realize that for me to get to some epic goal, for me to make a dent in the universe, for me to become a person who's recognized as in that top 100 code heroes of all time, I have to like things that are difficult and become addicted to the most interesting challenges that are available. What we want people to do is to go beyond the arcade, which is lovely and important, and to make a great and very fun video game that is a treasure in people's hearts is a huge accomplishment. But we want people to build towards something much bigger, and that is that tree up above the campus. And the essence of the tree is that all civilizations and mythologies and cultures have some kind of concept of the universe, some kind of mandala with which they envision what does it all mean, how does it all fit together. And the general term for this is the axis mundi, the gateway between the worlds. The higher, the lower, and the middle, the past, the present, and the future. We have a gateway between the worlds that we live in. Our difficulty with reconciling what's happened and our understanding of the past, and our short-sightedness and the challenge of trying to get a lot of people, like all of humanity, to be able to actually take on any major significant challenge on the scale of like the space program, for instance, which was motivated by a very crass need to beat the Russians. But we did it. I mean, it was rather amazing. So why can't we do the next challenges, and for the best reasons? And what we're challenging people to do is to build a tree of games, to make games that fit into that picture of scenarios where when people play them, they come out on the other side wanting to be a programmer or a scientist or a political leader who does good, or something that shapes people in the trajectory of a life which will make an impact on the world. And that's the kind of games that we would like to see. So, in essence, Code Hero is a game that teaches people how to make games, so that they can make games that teach everything else, so that we can make a world where all knowledge becomes playable, where all aspirations become irresistible, and where nothing can be restrained from us, which we have imagined to do. Thank you.